Good afternoon. Again, I'm Julie Kline. I'm in the Center for Latin American and Caribbean Studies at UW-Milwaukee, where mostly I do K-16 outreach and public programming, but teach on occasion. So my name's Julie, but if my presentation's mediocre, I'm Peter. I wanted to tell you, I used ePortfolio for the first time in the spring in an online course, which is an Introduction to Latin America course. It was the first time I've done the course online. It's the first time for ePortfolio. So I want to tell you a little bit about the course first. More than you need to read, but it's a course that's looking at Latin America from all sorts of disciplinary perspectives, so political science to culture to economics and back again. Drawing upon a whole lot of resources, textbooks, novels, podcasts with campus Latin Americanists. A lot is based on the online discussions. And as I say in that middle paragraph, an interdisciplinary course can be a lot of bits and pieces. I should know I'm the product of interdisciplinary studies through and through, international studies followed by Latin American studies. And so I tried to find as many ways as possible in the course to find ways for students to synthesize the material through a number of different small stakes assignments from individual and small group work. And what I used as a central organizing feature in the class was having students do a micro-lending project as groups. I don't know if any of you know of kiva.org, which is an online website that connects individuals all over the world doing, say, $25 loans to small-scale entrepreneurs throughout the world. So somebody who has a bicycle repair shop and is trying to expand, somebody who sells secondhand clothing and is trying to add to their inventory. So a lot of the course was built around the students doing small group work with Kiva. So again, it's an interdisciplinary course. I've got students it's a GER humanities course and satisfies a couple other requirements. I've got psychology majors, I've got global studies, students from the School of Business. So they're coming into the course with a lot of interest, and I like the fact that the course, as we're covering such a range of material, that they get a chance to feel like they're developing some area of expertise in the things they care about. And again, a lot of emphasis on synthesis. So if you haven't seen it, this is the main website for Kiva, and I have set up for our class a lending group. There were 6 groups. They all got to do $25 loans. And along the way, they decide on their country of interest. A lot of them got interested in women's issues, which there's a lot of women entrepreneurs. We happened to have a student in the class who was taking the class from Managua, Nicaragua. So I think 4 of my 6 groups picked Nicaragua-based projects because they got so interested in the country. I came into the ePortfolio pilot a little late in the semester, and so 4 or 5 weeks in, to give students some practice at Matt's suggestion, I had them they had done discussionary introductions at the beginning of the course, but I had them play with ePortfolio as a way to introduce themselves yet further. And he suggested kind of a fun way for them to think about their introduction, which was a photo that represented home, why it represented home for them, and then see what kind of connections they could make to this Intro to Latin America course. So this is just one example of what one student did, who actually is the student who was taking the course from Nicaragua, who talked about her Milwaukee family, her Nicaragua family. It was kind of fun actually doing this ePortfolio introduction partway through the class because it brought out things about her that, in that first week of class she hadn't shared. So I find out she's a BMX cycling enthusiast. I didn't know that. And she made a really nice way of connecting up if you just want to glance at it. The way it's helped her connect to people and cultures in different parts of the world. So I just have about 4 examples of what students did in the class. They had done, for the Kiva project, about a 4-step task thing, both individually and as a group, in that they selected a small-scale entrepreneur they wanted to support. They did background research on country and the kind of context that they thought shaped that individual stories. They did a reflection writing piece, and then they did the ePortfolio as their final project in the class. And again, because I had students from such a variety of majors, Anka, who's a geography major, did hers on environment in Bolivia. So, she got a chance to explore her interest in environment and deforestation and sustainability. Jay was a student in business, so their Kiva group was a group of 4 Nicaraguan women entrepreneurs, so he was looking at small business growth in Nicaragua. And I like the fact that Jay was one of the students who included a reflection piece, too, in what he was doing for his project. And we did if you saw in my brief description earlier that I kind of jumped through, we did the Kiva project partly, too, as a way for people to see individuals, people, spaces, communities, lives, so that it wasn't just all on a macro level that they were looking at Latin America. Caitlin, the student who was living in Managua, was very interested in what she experienced of that city and how much of it was still shaped by the 1972 earthquake, followed by the Sandinista Revolution and the Contra War. And she really went to town on adding graphics, which she had good access to where she was there. And she also did a reflection piece. In their case, their group helped fund a taxi driver who was trying to refurbish his personal car to use as a taxi. And Nesta, who is one of our psychology majors, who I really liked how he drew in Nicaraguan artists for his graphics, because it just made it a very visually appealing site, did his piece on women in Nicaragua. And again, if you're looking at, we've had, 2, 3 students so far in these examples that did Nicaragua, but each from a different angle, each exploring areas of history, culture, politics that really captured their interest. I think Kline was one of the few that got bold and actually put in a multimedia piece in addition to the JPEG graphics they were coming across. And at least of these examples, there were a few that I would have liked them to go into a little more depth in what they were doing, but for the most part, they were really doing a nice job of doing that synthesizing that I was looking for. And see, you get to explore all sorts of particular interests in the course. Guinea pigs. Guinea pigs as a food source in the Andes is why guinea pigs. And I won't add it now, but she even includes, she gets a little quirky with it, but that's okay. She has a nice YouTube piece on a family gather around roasted guinea pig koi for lunch. If you ever need to make a distinction between those sounds your guinea pigs are making, come to this and you can check out what it all means. kind of small, but it'll be in the screen piece. So I put together a rubric for looking at the ePortfolio project, which was the final project in the course. And I was looking at things like synthesis, use of outside sources, emphasis on the scholarly, the way they integrated media, how well they communicated the content, and how the material was logically and graphically organized. I'm doing the same course again this fall, and I think the part that I'm really going to try and work on more is what Matt said earlier in the introduction, which is focusing on the process. I need to work on integrating how students build this much earlier in the course as they're doing those individual and group projects for the kiva.org. Quite honestly, it was because I hadn't quite figured out how I wanted to use the tool. But because in the current class they're going to be starting just this next week with their first really simple task of deciding on projects they want to support through Kiva, I'm going to have them now have all the ePortfolio information so they can start stashing away those artifacts that they can make use of for their final presentation. Thank you.